Sir Ken Robinson says about finding your element and finding your passion is that a key element in that is finding your tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And would you say, I mean, so your tribe, you talk about your team a lot, you know, you talk about your team in a way that's really like you will support and protect, you know, you're really like team is everything, you know.
Absolutely.
Um, how did you go through that process? Did you find yourself a time just before Neo kind of almost being around people that didn't really share the vision? And you know, how did you get past questioning yourself or doubting yourself? Because I think that's a dangerous moment when you're in the room and there's 10 other people and you feel like, am I going nuts? Am I the only person that feels like this or sees this? And all these people are telling you it's not realistic, it's not practical, nobody wants this, blah blah blah. How did you overcome the self-doubt, the you know, how did you keep going?
Wow. Okay, so plenty of stuff to reflect on here, but I can certainly share a lot of moments where I felt alone, as you mentioned it, and I think this can be something positive and negative as well, because you said it very well. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but I would kill for my team. It's something that it's really powerful for me, and I always tell them, I trust you until you prove me wrong. And this is something that I think for me it's very important to lead by example. And one thing I've always done is, I mean, I can't be asking you for something if I'm not willing to do that for you. So I think that's when I start any kind of relationship with a collaborator, with a partner, with whoever it is, it would be a certain level of trust where we start already with few internal agreements, let's call it that way, and it's up to both parties to get the conversation going in the most healthy possible way and build that trust which started already at a certain level. So I think one thing that is important for me is, and I'm not saying there's a right or wrong on this, but the way I see it is, there's some people who don't trust people until AYZ happens. I don't start that way. I start saying I trust you until you prove me wrong, right? So I'm maybe starting already with a sense of understanding, maybe of you have we all have problems, right? So if you come one day and bring something to the table that frustrates you, I mean, if I'm a leader, I should take that frustration and understand why that's happening rather than judging my team members for that. So I think, and you mentioned that, well, in my previous experiences, I went from a very young age in a lot of team leading. And I found myself in many occasions with big teams at a very young age. And some of those team members were even older than me. And I had to defend my team. And when I say my team, is not only the physical person, but the thought process that we all had as a team in front of C levels. And that's the moment where you say, maybe I'm just fighting for a lot of things that no one else understands the why. But if I bring something to the table, it's because and this, I mean, you can have a discussion with my team, and I bet you they'll all testify on that. I would never go and impose anything. I the leadership style that I have is, let's reflect together. How do you feel about this? What do you want to get better at? What do you think is not working? How can I help? It's more about questioning the process rather than saying you did this wrong. Why this? Why that? And I personally feel that if something went wrong, I'm responsible for my team, and I'm the one who needs to um, have this learning curve happen faster, rather than blaming, oh, this happened because of you. That's not how you grow, nor the person who has done the mistake. So I think this is part of the way I believe in terms of team leadership. And I do have a hard time with leaders who actually impose things on teams, or the kind of leader who say, you have to do this because I say so. uh, that's and this is still very much the case of many companies. Many schools are still teaching as well in that traditional kind of style without questioning anything, and this is it because I say so and that's it. And I do think that if you want people to be happy and to stay in a job for a while, you need, I mean, we're all humans here. You need to first listen to what they are experiencing rather than just shouting out loud what needs to be done. And I think this is very, very important, and it goes with the sense of purpose. And if your team hasn't found that purpose, it's up to you as a leader to actually go and make it happen. So I
Well,
think,
that's what I wanted to ask you.
yeah,
I mean, how does that happen? Because if, right, you mentioned that you kind of found your sense of purpose and then you built Neo, and so I've got a kind of two-part question. The first one is, how closely aligned is your sense of purpose and Neo? Is it indistinguishable,
one.
or, and
It's
then
one.
how do you, because you've got this open, inclusive leadership style where you're encouraging reflection and people to find their internal motivation rather than imposing it on them internally. But knowing that people are coming in with diverse experiences and maybe different sets of values, how do you go about actually connect or helping them connect your team, or helping support your team to find their own connection to Neo's values and purpose? I mean, is that
Yeah,
something that's consciously done, or
certainly. And I would answer with two parts. Number one is what happens within Neo, and number two is what happens from Neo in our clients. Um, so within Neo, I'm extremely picky with who I bring on board because this is very, very important for me. It's and I must say this out loud. I'm willing to recruit someone who has a higher self of purpose that aligns with Neo, and maybe doesn't have all of the necessary boxes ticked in terms of the professional skills, but can be trained. And I prefer a kind of profile like that rather than the one who knows it all and it's a me, myself, and I, my way or the highway, and that's it. Again, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm saying this is the way I work on a daily basis. I need to be feeling absolutely trusted, and that my team I can trust my team. Sorry, otherwise it's just not going to work. I mean, I think this is very important for me as I started Neo remotely, and it's not because of the pandemic that we're working online. It's been 4 years that we have been working remotely. And when you build an organization with those criteria, you need to be trusting people. I mean, I hate micromanagement. This is certainly not the way that I lead my company. I lead my company by a sense of ownership in projects, in responsibilities, and everyone has its word. I mean, every single person can bring to the table whatever they have thought about, whatever they think is best. And I'm very happy to integrate new ideas from team members. That's extremely important. And I think in terms of an organization, we work in circles more than an actual descendant hierarchy. And this is for me very, very important as of Neo. Now, second part I was mentioning earlier is what do we do from Neo in our clients? And I think in that sense, workshops are extremely important, and I do them a lot with my clients. Um, and that's when you do a workshop at a client where their collaborators are not necessarily used to that kind of leadership,
yeah,
you start getting a lot of questions, and it might not be the most satisfying part for the C level, but I've seen amazing experiences with inner collaborators, like the ones that are on the operational side, admissions, communications, marketing, who are academics, who are not necessarily in the board or in a more leader role, but need to be heard. And I think this is very important for them to know that they can share their opinions, that their ideas are valuable, that if we do a workshop, everyone has the same voice in the team. This is extremely important. And if they cannot do it in their daily job, at least when with these workshops, they have a space for that. And also their team members get to appraise them by what they shared in those spaces that are not necessarily allowed in their daily jobs. So I think this is very important to, and a lot of the purpose I find in the satisfaction in those workshops is to have a positive impact by inspiring these people, but also being inspired by them, because you get to hear some amazing stories. And when you get out of a workshop like that and they tell you like, I'm going home with a big smile that I haven't had for a while because of a repetitive job. This is huge. And I think this is something that we can't enable too long. Basically, there's going to be a point where those people who feel oppressed, let's say, in a work environment that is disaligned between their professional and personal purposes, there's going to get a point where it they just clash. That's it. There's no other workaround. And again, I say this a lot. We spend more than half of our lives at our jobs. Are we really going to stick for the minimum? Are we really going to be there not to be happy? I'm pretty sure that there are ways of bringing that gap uh, um, shorter, let's say, to as we go. And I'm not saying this is done from one day to the other, it's a whole process, but at least being conscious about the fact that I want a change, or I need a change, or there's few things I don't like here and I might want, or I'm considering other opportunities. This is very, very important. And same for internal growth. I mean, some people stay in a role because they some of them are very introvert, and the thing is that they're not vocal enough about climbing in the institution. And unfortunately, with some very, very heavy organizations, if they don't express their will of getting better in I mean, not continuing their whole life in the same job, it's going to be very difficult for the management to actually bring that talent from the school itself without actually going and find people elsewhere. So I think
Yeah.
this is where a big sense of my purpose goes, is about empowering people to empower themselves, basically.
Yeah, there's a big intersectionality, isn't there, between your values, your sense of purpose, and the leadership style. They just seem to very much intersect. And it's interesting that it's not just about internally, but it's also you're able to almost bring that into the world or the environment of clients when you work with them through workshops, because it's totally right. I mean, with people who, okay, you might say are not being vocal enough, about sort of what their growth opportunities and things like that, but I think it's really about the culture, isn't it? What how supported they feel to do that. So if you're saying that you've got a kind of open channel of communication, and you'll listen to ideas and stuff, I think that that takes a while to sink in. If people have come from a different environment, they've got to unlearn it and be like, hey, I can actually share this. And even if it turns out to be not the best idea, it's okay. It's what's important is to share it. And actually, some of the best ideas come from some of the worst anyway. So, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it's all
Absolutely.
good. So it's nice that you're able to bring that in. But in a broader sense of purpose, I mean, how does it translate into, because when you initially set out to work with Neo, it was about making more of a shorter line between what you did and education, and then you've what Neo has evolved into is in the marketing side, education marketing. But what I wanted to ask you about is how that sense of purpose still plays out in your contribution to education, because I know it's very important to you. whether that's in the clients you work with or how you position yourself or, things you get involved in. I mean, how does that play out?
Mark, I think the answer here is very easy, and you're part of this change. Let's say, um, and yes, we are an education marketing consultancy, but we're not the traditional kind of agency as people would call it. And as a matter of fact, if you I mean, whoever is watching us, I invite you to go to our blog. If you find anything related to um, 5 tips to get your sales higher, I mean, that's not the kind of content we share, because you can find that everywhere. I mean, that's not what I believe should be our focus. If you go around the content that we share, and Mark, you're now a part of the team as a head of educational content, this is related to what you're doing and why also we did this collaboration. It's because I don't want Neo to be seen as one more educational agency, education marketing agency. We're not that. We're more than that. And why I say we're more than that is we're bringing reflections on the future of education. We're bringing reflections on what can we do as persons to actually feel better in our daily lives, and by ricochet, that would have an impact on our professional selves. And I think this is very much, you said it, is aligning my sense of purpose with the corporate world and the education system as such. So this is to answer to your question. I think this is why we are very different in what we do, and why we surround ourselves with people that are also very special in that sense. We're not selling you things, and I think all of our clients can testify of that. I have never ever, or none of my team members have gone like, oh, we would like to work with you because of this, of that. We're not doing sales pitch as such. We're not looking out for different clients. We are being contacted because of our yeah, I would say it's a matter of purpose aligned with a know-how. And this is where it happens. I mean, you're, of course, you don't get to work with Neo just because we think that everything in the world is pretty, and we're all gonna have a better world tomorrow. I mean, of course, this is part of our belief, but this is also very much aligned with our why and our what. And that's what we bring to the table. We bring our knowledge, our know-how, through a sense of purpose.
Yeah, it does feel very much like that. I mean, if you are the ubiquitous marketing agency that works for or with anybody, and constantly pitching and like, here's our pitch, can we work with you, and blah blah blah. And it's not very discerning approach, is it? Because you're not really thinking about the institution itself, about the institutional values, and about what they're contributing to the world of education. So I really do like, I love how you're doing it. In fact, I love the fact that it's like you're planting your flag and saying, this is us. Here's all the things we believe about education. And it's pretty unrepentant as well. And why I like writing these articles as well, as I've told you, I can only write articles in which there is no real adoption of a persona. I can't do that. I can't write inauthentically or do anything inauthentically. I'm not one of these writers that can write for 20 different people and adapt it to that. It's like you want to say what you're passionate about, and it very much aligns. And the interesting thing about that is, by doing that, it's, as you say, it seems to be um, connecting to the sense of purpose in other organizations that find themselves in alignment, and they are coming here and saying, can you help us become more successful? And that's a great thing, because you can't work with everyone, and you shouldn't want to anyway. I mean, it's not, but by saying, hey, we align, we're going to work with you, you're almost supporting what you believe in directly, because those institutions become, or organizations become, more successful, and those are the ones that you want to succeed. Um, have you that? But that means that you've had to say no a lot.
I have, and it's certainly not an easy task,
Have you ever
but
regretted it?
never. That's exactly what I was gonna say. It has certainly not been easy, but I can't think of a moment where I say, "Oh my God, I should have said yes to this one," even though I didn't believe about it. Nah, not at all. I think in the long run, I mean, maybe when you're more junior, you do think about it, but there comes a point where you say, "Thank God, I followed my God, and I stick to my purpose, and this is certainly the best way to go."
That is a good way to leave it, because I think it's an inspirational point for people. Because I think everybody, you mentioned earlier on, you talked about people having these inner questions, but I believe that there's a lot of people that are not quite attuned to letting those questions surface, or letting that voice surface, because of the environment they're in, because they haven't discovered how, they haven't had the experiences that support it. And hopefully listening to things like this will maybe spark something in somebody that's questioning themselves right now, doubting themselves and thinking, should I? Everyone's telling me this is the logical choice, but it doesn't feel right.
Absolutely. I truly hope for that trigger, that aha moment to happen in anybody's life, because I think that's when you really start to live.
Okay, thank you very much, Alejandra. It's been a
Thank you,
pleasure.
Mark. It's been a pleasure for me as well. Thank you.